In this episode of the Happy Talks, my guest is Alex, who is going to introduce us to Climate Fresk, a new buzz in the world of sustainability, and they are introducing a fun game, an enjoyable game at a massive scale all over the world, and something is happening in the UAE as well. What is it? Come and have a listen. So, Alex, a warm welcome to the Happy Talks, and thank you so much for, after a long day, you're taking the time and driving up all the way to Ajman. I'm very excited to introduce you and the Climate Fresk to whoever is going to listen to this podcast, because I think you are off to something really great and amazing.
It's a nice place. Thank you for receiving me here.
Of course, Climate Fresk is to me one of those sustainable initiatives that is really focusing on a mindset. And many of the sustainable initiatives I met in the UAE and outside the UAE, they're really focusing on the mindset a lot, but you are doing it at a huge scale. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? How did Climate Fresk come to life, and the ambitions? Because that's something different to me. That's a very different scale where you're looking at, because it allows people to really think outside the box and to dream big and to see that it's possible and it's doable. So you are really setting, high standards, and I'm interested in the background story.
Okay. So the Climate Fresk started in the brain of a gentleman, a French person, an engineer that wanted to explain climate change to his students. He was teaching at the time, called Cedric Ringenbach, close to 7-8 years ago. And after 1 or 2 years, he realized that he had built a workshop, which I will explain in a few seconds how it works, that was powerful in explaining to people how climate change works, or enabling people to understand how climate change works, and discussing solutions, what can be done to change course. And so 5 years ago, he decided to create an association. In France, it's an NGO, it's an association, to deploy that workshop, first in France, Europe, and actually quite fast. It went internationally and globally. We believe at the Climate Fresk that the first point, the starting point for any change is understanding. First understand, that will trigger you to change, to move, to adapt to the situation, to the requirements, to the new, whatever it is. In our case is climate change. So first understand climate change, the physics of it. The workshop is based on the IPCC report, so the most advanced and global science on climate change, towards action. Fast forward to today, the workshop was attended by 1.2 million people in the world, which makes it probably the fastest growing climate education tool out there. And we are present now as an NGO in 50 plus countries. What does present mean as an NGO? It means that we have representatives in 50 plus countries. I'm the co-country coordinator for the UAE.
So thank you for sharing this brief history of the Climate Fresk, which is definitely a success story in the field of sustainability. And it also makes me really interested, like how you as Alex got involved into this, and what are your plans for November the 9th? I just know it's something big, and I know it's 3 weeks before COP28, and I'm also involved as a volunteer, and I'm looking forward to it. So now I'm just curious, like, who is Alex behind the Climate Fresk, or representing Climate Fresk, and what are those big numbers and big impact that you are looking to create on November the 9th?
Okay. So my story with the Climate Fresk started close to 3 years ago. 3 years ago, actually, during COVID. I intended to start the journey at that time, but COVID hit and it had to be postponed a little bit later. As soon as I could, I attended the workshop and I was trained as a facilitator. And I think that's really when I fell in love with the workshop. Initially, I intended to facilitate workshops here and there to friends and family, to people interested, as a hobby. I like, facilitating workshops. But actually it grew onto me, and I really thought that there was also an opportunity here in the country to develop actually my activity. I was already an independent sustainability consultant at the time, and I thought that this was a nice offering to add. And actually companies, organizations, the government, schools were all quite receptive to the workshop, willing for more, to do more workshops. When we did one in a company, they wanted several for the colleagues, and they would talk about it to other companies and etc. So basically, the snowball effect was starting, and so I decided to dedicate quite a fair amount of my time to this initiative. Nearly all of my time for more than a year. Now I balance it with something else that I do. But basically I just fell in love with the tool and with what happens during and after the workshop. And so from workshops with a few people and having a few facilitators in the country, we are now at workshops. Yesterday we did one with 40 people. We regularly do some with 50, 60, 70, 80 people. And now we're looking at, and we have many more facilitators, 170 now in the country. And we're looking at indeed doing a big event on November 9th. The story of this event is that in January this year, 2023, we facilitated the workshop for a team at the Ministry of Climate Change. And they loved it. We say that this workshop, trying it is loving it. So basically everyone who participates ends up loving it. And they loved it. And we said, okay, what can we do together? And we bounced a few ideas. And at some stage there was this idea to do a giant workshop with hundreds of people. And we landed on a decision to organize a workshop. So on November 9, with 1,000 participants, it will be at ADNEC, so Abu Dhabi National Exhibition Center. We'll organize it in collaboration with the Ministry of Climate Change, Agriculture and Environment, together with Aldar Education, who will be providing a number of the participants and the facilitators as well. Ernst & Young is contributing financially and in part of the organization. And us, the Climate Fresk, are here to train all the facilitators and ensure that on the day we deliver a qualitative workshop. And on top of that, because the people here and the government here likes this type of large-scale initiatives and the awards, the accolades that can go with them, we will be inviting, the Ministry of Climate Change will be inviting the Guinness Book to testify that this is the largest event of its kind. And so it will be an official world record attempt. And so it's quite exciting. It's quite a big thing in our community. We'll be training probably 80 other facilitators and 80, 90 new facilitators just for that event. So we have a growing community and a growing impact. And 1,000 people will participate at once, which means that indeed there will certainly be word of mouth plus that world record on top of it. So it hopefully will make some noise so that people are intrigued. What is this Climate Fresk workshop and want to do it and will reach out in order to participate.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So can you tell us a little bit more about this workshop? We mentioned that it's a little bit of a preparation to become a facilitator and that it's a 2-3 hour workshop. So what does it include?
Yeah, so in total it's a 3-hour workshop. The first 2 hours of the workshop we play with cards. Each of these cards represents one aspect of climate change, one element, one dimension of climate change. The purpose of that part of these first 2 hours is to lay out these cards by order of causes and consequences. What comes first, what goes next. Cause, effect, and effect, and effect. So that at the end of the 2 hours, 42 cards, there are 42 cards in total, are laid out on the table, and the participants can see the whole causal links from the human activities to the consequences on the environment and back to the humans. We also have a creative part where we give crayons, markers to the participants so that they can draw these arrows of causal links. as well as just be creative and add any design of their choice. It's a creative and fun part. And a title. It's a very interesting and important step so that they gain ownership of their creation and really start to digest what they just understood in terms of climate change, science, and consequence of it. So as you can see, it's very playful. We think that people learn by playing, and not only children. So people always have fun in a Climate Fresk workshop. Though the topic is very serious, we make it fun. And the last hour of the workshop is about the solutions. First, we understand the problem, then we talk about the solutions. And it's a discussion. Again, we are facilitators, we're not teachers, so we don't say it should be like this, should be like that. No, we engage the audience in a discussion on what can be done within our context as an audience to mitigate our carbon emissions, reduce our carbon emissions. And so that last hour of the workshop is different when we facilitate in a classroom with 14-year-old kids, although it's the same games, the same cards, but that last hour is different. Then when we do it in a boardroom with a C-suite, and it's different again when we do it with the government. So basically, we adapt to the audience.
And also, often, a couple of terms that come up in these conversations, in Happy Talks since I started. And one of them is really like long-term, long-term, sustainable, long-lasting, this kind of terminology. And I started thinking, would you like to have it introduced to more people in more different parts of the country, not necessarily just November the 9th, before and after that as well? And if yes, who are those people, organizations, others that you are inviting to get involved and get to know the game?
Okay, yes. We believe, we observe, the feedback we get is that it's a tool, it's a workshop that does trigger action. And this is what we need. One of the keywords of COP28 is action. Enough talking, now it's time to act. And this workshop does trigger this action because it enables the understanding. And consequently also triggers the emotion that leads to action. So we want as many people as possible to participate in the workshop. That's clearly, we only have one goal, one KPI with my partner and as a Climate Fresk in general is the number of participants, is to increase the number of participants. That's why it's our sole focus. That's why it's an NGO and not a business. That's why there's many consequences to this. That's why we train anyone who wants to be trained to become a facilitator. There's no requirements or prerequisite or skills or anything. The point is to have an exponential growth so that enough people understand climate change, so that we reach a tipping point and things can start changing. Anyone can and is invited, can attend a workshop and is invited to. And anyone who participates is great. Of course, we at the same time try to focus on or try to ensure that decision makers attend. Decision makers, private organizations, public organizations, NGOs, etc., the government, but also in schools, so that it enters the curriculum. Which is what is happening. So France is the game was born in France. France is the most advanced country in any type of metric so far, and there have been participants up to the highest ranking, government officials, largest companies and etc. All the boards, all the best business schools, everyone is on it. 1% of the French population participated in the workshop. And slowly, the same is happening in a number of countries. And because we facilitated the workshop to the Ministry of Climate Change, the Ministry of Education, the Department of Energy, and a number of other governmental organizations, in a good dozen, probably even more, schools, universities in this country, in the UAE, 50 plus companies, and this is accelerating now, and to the public. We see that the momentum is picking up, and yes, the point is to leverage collective intelligence, leverage people's motivation, people as in individuals who want to become facilitators, and create that snowball effect. We welcome everyone to participate and become facilitators so that the movement amplifies.
One question I was thinking about when I was listening to is sometimes when people go to workshops and training and they get to know new information, they get super excited. How long would it last? They are very much into action, they complete the workshop based on the knowledge or the experience you have access to. What are those indicators that show you that this is not just a short-term excitement, but it's really what they are signing up for is a long-term commitment?
Yeah, we are facilitators, we're not teachers. So consequently, they engage, they own, they understand, and because we play it around tables, people standing for the first 2 hours, etc. So it's mind, head, but also body. There's movement, and we talk about decisions, action, and we try and have people stand at various moments of the workshop. But also we talk about the emotions. So we connect to the emotions. So we see that there's a longer lasting impact of the workshop because it's head, heart, and body. Now, the challenge is indeed to maximize the chances that it will impact on the long term and make sure that people actually do what they can. This is not, strictly speaking, the remit of the Climate Fresk. The Climate Fresk is an awareness-raising tool, but a number of us facilitators are also sustainability consultants. So it's part of our job to do the follow-ups with the organizations that we facilitate the workshop for, so that they implement what they started brainstorming or initiating or deciding during the workshop.
Right. Well, that answers some part of the question. And also, I love how you open this door kind of to everyone, to be involved in the game. And I guess one of the kind of secrets of the long-lasting part is that you are enabling and inviting many to become facilitators. And once you become facilitator, then you become more involved as well. So coming to the end of this conversation and inviting everybody who is listening to it to reach out to Climate Fresk, ask how you can be involved and how you can participate in it, either as a participant or as a facilitator, and going through it as well, like you at the point participating in it. What are some of those insights, some of those actionable steps that you could share right away that would help those who get interested in climate change? Yes, I do want to know more. Yes, I do want to do something. So where do I start?
So I'll answer you in two ways. The where do I start to decarbonize my own life? Look at how you move, what you eat, because this is a very regular question. What do I do now? And we address this during the workshop in much more detail. But in principle, look at how you move, what you eat, and a little bit also of how you live indoors, the temperatures and etc., the lighting and a number of things. But this is topics that we address during the workshop. And again, we give much more details on what can be done. How to start, where to start to become a facilitator or a Climate Fresk journey, start on the website. Go to climatefresk.org, filter by UAE or whatever country you live in, and you'll see the workshops that are available to register for. Or write at uae@climatefresk.org. I will receive the email myself and my partner Mireille as well. So uae@climatefresk.org, pretty simple. And then the process to become a facilitator is straightforward. I'm not saying it's easy, it's not long, but it's not short either, because we want quality in our workshops. So it's to attend a workshop first, attend a facilitator training, study by yourself, and then basically we provide as well a bit of support, and then basically you're ready to go.
Yeah, so that's very detailed response as well, and by now people know where to find you, where to reach you. And the good news is that it's not only in the UAE but anywhere outside the UAE as well. So we are looking forward, I'm looking forward to hosting it, to becoming a facilitator. And thank you so much for telling us so much about the Climate Fresk and the workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. And if you enjoy this, please stay tuned. This is the end of season 2. And here you could hear a couple of conversations around sustainability and education. Hopefully you like the selection. In the next season, season 3, I'm going to be inviting guests from sustainability and finance. So stay tuned, follow us, get the notifications, sign up for newsletters so I can inform you when season 3 is coming out. Happy people are happy people. Bye.